Okay, so what are some of your answers? By the way, I did the same activity for software companies to talk about good software. How is good software like a good bento? And these guys, go crazy because with the whiteboard, there are actually many similarities. So how about in the case of presentation? So variety, small portions, everyone talking at once. I'm sorry.
Well, it is, especially all talking at once.
Is it? Yeah, but is it noisy? Or is it stimulating, right? Like the signal versus noise thing. So yes, it does have a visual impact. Once you open it, it's like, wow. Is it confusing or does it stimulate you, right? And what's amazing about this, there's like 25 different food items here. And you know what they are. You don't have to turn it over and see all these ingredients. Like, it's a bean. What is it made of? Bean stuff. It's made out of bean stuff. So what are some other things?
When you finish, you're satisfied.
Okay, yeah, exactly. So after you, and it's not too much, just enough, right? So you're not stuffed. Color.
Although it might be noisy, you can pick when you want to, whatever you want.
Right. So you get to choose, right? And you might not like everything, but at least there are some bits. It's like today. What can I do in an hour? I can't change your life in an hour. Can't really teach you anything in an hour, because we're doing many things. But if I can stimulate you, if I can give you just a couple beans or a bit of rice or something to take with you. But yes, in the back.
The attention to detail gives you the confidence.
Did you say confidence?
Yeah, see, I feel like I'm going to enjoy this.
Oh, okay.
Put all this down.
Actually, that's a very excellent point. So the presenter clearly prepared, and they clearly thought of the audience. A lot of care goes into this. The content is it's nutritious. It's not too much. You eat it, you're satisfied. You could eat more, but you don't want to. You feel very satisfied. But as you said, you have confidence in that someone took the time and care, just like with a good presentation.
The audience, which is the eater, interacts with the content.
Right. So they're not just looking at it. It's not in saran wrap. But yeah, it's actually interacting. They can move it around. It's 3D experience. Okay. So maybe you can try this, go back to your university and try this activity. You can actually do many things. Get out the paper or the whiteboard and you can make a list of 100 things probably.
Yeah, it's also not monolithically the same all the way through, like a giant.
Sure, like a big,
sandwich.
Yeah. Right, like a Big Mac is made out of Big Mac stuff. That's what it is. Thank you. By the way, I see this is an app. There's many different ones. This is called P-Clock, I think. And it's for the iPad or iPhone. And you can count it down. So I can start at whatever I want, and it counts down. It'll change color. It'll make a sound at 5 minutes or whatever I want. So because you never want to look at your watch. That's not a good, not a good impression, as George Bush Senior found out. This is American-centric, but many years ago when he was running for president, he got a lot of flack because he did this. Just that little gesture he didn't mean to be rude, but it sends a very negative message. So that's what I have, and that's all the time I have, about a half hour. So I don't think, I haven't even actually started my presentation yet. So you just came, sir. It's just starting now, actually. But I won't go over time. It's very important that we don't go over time. So the key themes, again, just to repeat: restraint, simplicity, naturalness. So think of, in the preparation, that's how I split this the next 30 minutes, let's say. We'll touch on preparation. We'll touch a little bit on design for non-designers, and then a little bit on deliver, E, which is missing. So on preparation. So I want you to get out a piece of paper. This is important. First, everyone have a piece of paper. You need, or your iPad could work if you have a sketch app, but you need a ability to sketch on your iPad or your iPhone. Any kind of paper. You have your program. Your program is paper, right? You could find an empty spot in your paper, in your program. It is a very nice program. Whoever did that, it's excellent. But there is some empty space in there for you to. So find an empty page and draw this rectangle. So do that, please. It's activity. It's just very advanced. So please, everyone have the rectangle? Now find a partner, someone next to you or across from you. They can be across from you. They don't have to be, actually it's probably better if they're not right next to you, but you need a partner. And what I want you to do, and I want you to draw a picture of that person. But do not show them the picture. This is what's very important. You can't show them the picture. So you have to look at them carefully. Look at how the light bounces off their cheekbones and casts a shadow. All that. Look at them, but don't show them the picture. Does that make sense? If that makes sense, say aye. Oh, thank you. Okay, ready. You have 1 minute to draw a picture of your partner. Good. Okay, so what did you notice? Dakara nani? Why do we do this? Why did we do this? What did you notice? The first thing I noticed is you said, I can't draw. And so you took a picture. But then, breaks the rules. And then when you exchanged pictures, what did you hear? I heard a lot of laughter, because it's fun. But I also heard a lot of, I'm sorry, right? Gomenasai, please excuse me. And we do this activity a lot. I learned it from the guys at IDEO in Silicon Valley. They're the creative guys at Stanford and other places. But the reason we do this is because when we do this with children, they laugh because it's fun, but they never say, I'm sorry. They never apologize for the picture. They never say, I can't draw. They're very happy to do this. And so in the preparation stage, we need to think differently. If we're going to present differently, not the Bill Gates Microsoft way, but an actually effective way, then we have to think differently. We call this the child's mind or the beginner's mind. And of course, you are experts in what you do, but like Suzuki Sensei said, in the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. But in the expert's mind, there are few. Of course you are experts, but you have to put that aside temporarily to think differently, to think about doing things in a different way. So this is something I also learned when I worked at Apple. So these are very smart guys that worked there, but they also had the ability to put that aside and think like children and play a lot. Play was actually very important because that's how you discover new things. So to present differently too, we need to think differently. Or as Master Yoda said, let's all say this in the Yoda voice. Wait, do you have the Yoda voice? So Yoda voice is, okay, say no. Okay, let's all read this. Say no. You must unlearn what you have learned. Oh, very good. This is very, very wise, actually, right? So the problem with many of us is our cup is too full, right? We have to empty, as Bruce Lee would say, you must empty your cup so that you can learn something new. You must come to class with an empty cup. Otherwise, you can never learn anything new. So restraint is the key idea. In the preparation phase, as Darren said, a lot of people put too much information. So Hara Hachibu, you know, is a philosophy. It's a good lifestyle philosophy. It means to eat until 80% full, which is a Japanese notion. In Asia in general, actually, but in Japan we gave it a name. And so you don't have to eat everything. 80% is about enough. So think about presentations, about 80% of the present. You don't have to go an hour. If you get an hour, go 55 minutes or something like that. Also in terms of content, you don't have to include everything. But a lot of people think, well, in order for my audience to understand anything, I have to tell them everything. Professors are the worst at this, and since a lot of you are professors, and I guess I'm a professor, I can say that. And yet, the young people learn presentation from college, right? And so they do it like the professor did, which is not effective communication at all. So our job is to try to prevent that. So this is a visualization of the Hara Hachibu. So there's my bento and my stomach, and there's after, and there's my stomach. So you can see it really, that is scientific. It really does work. So have you ever seen something like this? This is fake Latin, so don't try to read this. But do you still see presentations like this? Where one slide after another? You still see that? La la la, la la la. You can get sleepy and then put a footer down there for some reason. So all the textbooks say the 177 rule. So one concept, 7 lines of text, and 7 words per line. That's what conventional wisdom was, but that's what this is. That follows that rule. So could you imagine presenting to this? This is not a visual. It's not a document. It's not enough information for a document, and it's not a visual either. So it fails on both sides. So the first step in the preparation phase is to find some alone time. That's very key, away from the computer. So there's some Taoist wisdom that says we cannot see our reflection in running water. It is only in still water that we can see. So when you get off the grid, close the computer, and you can really think about what's important and what's not. This is John Cleese, as some of you know. He said the same thing recently.
So what I'm saying is that if you get into the right mood, then your mode of thinking will become much more creative. But if you're racing around all day, ticking things off on lists, looking at your watch, making phone calls, and generally just keeping all the balls in the air, you are not going to have any creative ideas.
Now, I think he's right, and he's a very, very creative person, obviously, and it's very important, especially now. We have more information than ever. We're all busy. It's a great differentiator if you can get off the grid and really find some time and focus. John also said we don't know where good ideas come from, but we do know they do not come from the laptop. Where are the ideas? They must be in there someplace. I'll go to the internets. So it's very, very important to get off the grid and close the computer. So don't start here. Try this as something different, and then instead start what we call an analog way. So this is a picture from my Apple days. The walls of my office and everyone's office and the hallways were all whiteboard. When I presented at Amazon recently in the States, the elevators were all whiteboard with erasers and pens on the, can you imagine, in the elevators? Because you never know when ideas are going to come, and there's just something about sketching out your ideas. It's just so liberating, even in today's world. This is something you can buy at Muji. So if you're in, you know Muji? What's the full name of Muji in Nihongo? Muji, Ushi? Ushi, whatever. Muji, you know, it's the red one in Helvetica, Muji. You can buy these storyboard books for 95 yen, recycled paper, and they're the perfect size for Post-it notes. And so I use this in my class. I have my own sketchbook, but it's more expensive. This one's very, very cheap. You can print it out this way in PowerPoint, do it like that, or you can do it like this. It looks messy, but my students do an amazing job when they actually present. And then if the computer, you know, failed, which it might do, they know their story because they've been working on it, so they don't have to rely on notes. So these are just some actual pictures from that. So the other important thing of the preparation phase is to focus on the story. So we are all storytellers. You might not believe me because I'm just some guy from Nada, but you would believe the Harvard Business Review when they say that if you want to really connect with people, forget about PowerPoint and statistics, to really involve people at a deeper level, then you need story. So what is the story of your thing? What examples can you give? What stories can you give? But what is the sort of the big story? What is your story? So we are all natural storytellers. Kids, even in Japan, kids love telling stories, right? This is my friend's child, 5 years old, I think 4 or 5, in preschool. And then there's the next day she gave her presentation with her visuals, right? And a similar kind of child, you know this guy, Al Gore, remember him? So he's famous, of course, for many things, including Inconvenient Truth. There he is, talking about data. But for a long time, I always thought of Al Gore as kind of a boring person. I never thought of him as being a great presenter. But he got together with my friends in Silicon Valley called Duarte Design. They worked on his story, his visuals, yes, but mainly the story, and lots of data, but presented in a way in the context of story. And then, of course, it was very visual, lots of compare and contrast. This is something you can tell your students. I mean, smart people always say compared to what, right? I mean, that's just something that a smart person does, which I guess most of us don't do, including the media. For example, they said, well, the radiation in Tokyo is whatever, 0.0, blah, blah, blah. And then people go, oh my God. Where a smart person says, well, compared to what? And they go, well, it's much less than an X-ray. Okay, well, you should have told me, right? But instead, we panic. So using compare and contrast is very effective, obviously for something like this, but really for any topic, before, after, big, small, whatever. So Al Gore did it this way. Most people would do it this way, right? He would do it, most people do something like this, and then Al did it like this. The visuals then became the backdrop. Not decoration, but evidence, and used lots of data, actually, as well. And then look what happened to him. Right? He went all Hollywood, won an Oscar and a Nobel Peace Prize. I mean, bloody hell. So the point was, and he's not a very exciting person, but the point is, he focused on the story and presenting things for the audience in a simple way, not a dumbed down way, but in a simple way, and that got a lot of attention. Okay, so I'm going to skip ahead because I have 15 minutes. You should really never do this in a really important presentation, but it's like showing your underwear or something, you know. Oh, look at the desktop. So I'm going to go into, I'll do some fun design stuff. So we'll skip ahead because I will finish on time. That's very important. So how many of you are designers? Anyone say you're a designer? A couple of designers here. So we can learn a lot, actually, about design thinking and learn a lot about thinking in general from designers. But you might say, okay, I'm not a designer. But in actual fact, you are a designer of sorts. As Herbert Simon said, everyone designs who devises courses of action aimed at changing existing situations into preferred ones. Isn't that what you do? Trying to make the world a little bit better place, trying to make your students a little better, trying to help students. In a sense, that's what designers do. They solve problems, they prevent problems, and that's what you do.